Good afternoon, good evening, everybody. A very warm welcome to this session. We'll wait for another 1 minute and then we'll start the session. People who've joined from Team Madhuban, could you please raise your hand? People who've joined from Team Madhuban. I do not remember, I don't recognize a couple of you. Kavita, Sajid, almost all those teachers who are from Madhuban team, internal team Madhuban. Okay, Gaurav is there. Gaurav, just for the timing, I'm making you the co-host, just as a backup option.
Okay, Mani.
Thanks. Mani Mozi, Kavita Sarji, Titi Desai. Thank you so much, everyone. Thanks, Shakuntika. I'm making you the co-host as well. All right. So once again, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this and yet another interesting session of the commune. Shakuntika, you there?
Yes, ma'am.
Shakuntika, can you please take care of the waiting room?
Yes, sure.
Thank you. Thank you so much. All right. So good evening and welcome to another session of the Commune. I'm Himani, and I welcome everyone on this session, which is co-hosted today with Freedom. Freedom is a reading app for English for students in English, and with Freedom today we have a very well-known and a very well-read resource person, Ms. Aditi Mehta, with us. I would like to call upon Ms. Nagma from Freedom to come and introduce the resource person for the day.
Definitely. Thank you so much, Shimani. Hi, everybody. Good evening. And it's my huge honor today to actually introduce dear Aditi onto this platform. So just giving a quick introduction. So Aditi, even though you see her smiling, sitting so relaxed, she's not such a very simple person. She is a huge, she's somebody huge. So, well, she is actually an experienced educator. She's a trainer. She's a curriculum designer. And more than everything, she's a language expert. She is one of the most avid readers, the most passionate readers that I have actually met. She heads academic excellence and impact at an edtech company, which provides skill-based, joyful online English language learning for kids. There are more than 7 lakh plus kids on her platform right now. Well, in the past decade, she has designed one of India's most premier in-school reading programs, which even today continues to benefit for over 65,000 plus kids across the nation in the age group of 3 to 10 years as of now. She has also co-designed India's first diagnostic reading assessment, FAST. I'm sure some of you would have heard of it, FAST assessment, along with her team at her company in collaboration with the Australian Council of Education Research, very commonly known as ACER. I'm sure that name you would quickly recognize that name. She has been trained in curriculum development, research, counseling, and coaching, etc., etc., etc. Well, she holds a master's degree in organization and social psychology from the London School of Economics. She's very fond of theater. She loves dabbling her writings whenever she gets some free time, apart from doing all these other busy stuff. Well, when you find her somewhere stationary, that means when she is not traveling, she lives in Mumbai with her husband's plants and a lot of her books. So that's Aditi for you. I do not want to take more time stealing the time away from her. Over to you, Aditi. Wishing you all the best for the session. And thank you, everybody, for who have joined today. We'll keep, there's a lot of people still entering. We'll keep adding the rest of them as well.
Very
So
quickly,
over to you.
Put everybody on mute. If you have any queries during this session, please put it on the chat box. Myself, Nagma, Shakuntaka, Gaurav, we're all here to take up your queries. We'll take them as and how Ms. Aditi finds it suitable to take them, or we'll park them till the end and we'll take them up towards the end. I am very proud to have somebody so well, experienced and researched here on Commune. It's a pleasure at Madhuban to have all of you, and I'm sure our educators will benefit a lot from your experience. Thank you so much.
Wow, I'm flushed and flustered. Thank you so much, Nagma. Thank you so much, Himani. It's an absolute honor to be here with all of us today. It's finally a beautiful Saturday afternoon in Mumbai, where I live, where we have a little bit of respite from the heat. And I hope wherever you all are, you're comfortable and you're excited to just be together and learn something together, which I believe is the purpose of this incredible initiative by Madhuban. In my school, I have been reading books by Madhuban. It's been such an honor to be here on a platform with Madhuban. So thank you so much, team. And as you all know, today we want to talk about something that I am quite passionate about, and I'm building my expertise in it, as we say. And this is the field of instruction design. It's not as new as we think. It's always been around, but you know how it is, right? You see a glass bottle and then suddenly there's a label on the bottle, and you suddenly know, this is what it is. And it all makes sense in our minds. And instruction design is a little bit like that. All of us as educators, our core purpose, our core raison d'etre, what we aspire to do every single day in the classroom is create joyful learning experiences for our children, right? And our children could be a 3-year-old, a 13-year-old, if some of us are lecturers in universities as well, our children could be 20 years old as well. But our purpose remains unchanged, which is how do we design learning experiences for our children wherein they feel happy, they feel productive, they feel free from judgment, and learning is at its optimum, right? We're able to achieve the goals that we have set aside for that 30 or that 40-minute time period that we have. So today we're going to talk about instruction design. We are going to understand the methodology a little bit. We are going to see certain examples of good instruction design in practice. And I've tried to keep my presentation a bit light, with some videos in it. So there's a bit of a break. You don't have to continuously see my face all the time. And it will give us some, it will give us some well-rounded initial understanding of what instruction design is. So, and like Himani said, questions are of course very welcome. Please put your questions on chat. I will try to follow them as we go along. If I feel there's a question about a very specific thing, we could perhaps handle it then and there, or else I'm happy to take all the questions at the end. I have designed for my talk to be about 30 to 35 minutes. And so that leaves us with a little bit of more time to actually talk about certain things, right? And please treat this as an open session. I'm here to learn along with you. We'll just put.
Aditi, if you can unmute yourself once again.
So like I was saying, we are here to learn together. And, if there are certain questions that I'm unable to answer, I'll be more than happy to come back with a well-researched answer. Okay, so to start, I think I have this one invitation to all of you. This is a beautiful Saturday afternoon session. I want us all to be comfortable. I want us all to feel, relaxed where we are, so that we can take all the new information coming to us. And please take these 30 seconds if you wish to raise your hands above your head, stretch a little bit, twist from side to side, stretch your legs out, just give your body a little bit of a chance to breathe. And please, you can do all of that while I set up my screen for screen sharing. So I'm just going to stretch a little bit and get myself started, and so can you. I'm just going to share my screen. Please help me understand if you're able to see it. Visible?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, visible, right?
Yes.
Great. And teachers, we're on Zoom. Zoom's a wonderfully interactive platform. Please take the opportunity to use your emojis or reactions. If you come across something that you love, send a heart or a smiley. It will help us kind of stay up to date and help us also understand how we're all feeling about this new thing that we're getting into, right? Super. So today we're going to talk about instructional design. As a curriculum designer, as somebody who constantly works with children and with teachers, this has become so important to the work. And a lot of us could be working for chain schools. A lot of us could be working in organizations where there's a central curriculum team, and that curriculum team provides the curricula to every other school in our area. And this particular science is so crucial to nail when we are designing learning experiences for children. So first things first, what exactly is, so instruction design is essentially a way to create joyful learning experiences for children. It refers to the content, it refers to the pedagogy, it refers to the actual implementation of a certain curriculum, and we will discover it as we go. And to start with, I want to talk about the principles of good instruction design. When we see something developed well, how do we recognize that this is actually good instruction design? This is a great way to teach, or this is a great kind of a resource to teach in my classroom. So the first principle of good instruction design is everything that we share in the classroom is based on a particular point of focus, and the expectation from the child is very, very clear, right? we have to be very specific if we want the child to show us something, we want them to ask something, we want them to tell us something, right? Do we want children's feedback? Do we want to get them to do something, or do we want to make a request? So the first thing and the first principle of good instruction design is nail down the focus and the expectation from the child or from the topic that you are teaching at this particular point in time. The second is analogies over explanations. As you all know, analogies are exemplary ways of teaching or explaining something. Something as simple as, oh my God, your palms are as cold as ice. Or, oh my God, your palms are burning. You must have a very high fever. That's an analogy, right? And that analogy explains a lot more than saying something as technical as, oh, your body temperature seems elevated. Perhaps you have a high temperature. It's easier, it's punchier. It is the fastest way to get to a point. All of you realize that constantly explaining something over and over again is very difficult. Analogies are the best way to get a point through. When we are designing for learning experiences in the classroom, one thing to realize is that perfection is not the point. And this may be slightly controversial for some of us to hear, but it is not about how comprehensively you're able to prepare and deliver something, but it really is about communicating to the audience, right? We are all teachers, we all have multiple degrees, we all have multiple years of experience, and yet when we are teaching this child in front of us, their vision, their experience, their understanding is limited, right? And so our core focus has to be in enabling them to understand something in the right way, very, very specifically. Perfection in terms of our delivery is not the point. It is about suiting what you are delivering to the audience and what they need at that point in time. And this is an ever-evolving process, right? So we learn from doing as much as a child learns when they are listening to us. A good instruction design, and this includes worksheets, it includes lesson plans, it includes even the way you want to run a meeting, it includes the question papers that we are designing for children when it's time for exams. They have to be simple, intuitive, and logical, right? There's absolutely nothing that beats simplicity right here. Exercise beautiful restraint. And I believe this is the most important thing when it comes to good instruction design. Some of us are so tempted to give a lot of information. And this is also the problem that we're facing in our regular lives, right? Something as simple as deciding which restaurant to go eat in tonight. You will open Zomato, there'll be 15 reviews. You'll talk to a friend, they'll have a different reviews. You'll open Dine Out and you'll have 30 other reviews. You'll open Google and it'll tell you 5 things about the road in which that restaurant is. And there is so much information, right? And it sometimes becomes very difficult to really pick out what is to be chosen for our understanding from that gamut of information that we have. And so while we are delivering learning experiences in the classroom, exercising restraint is very, very important. We know what the focus is, we know what the expectation from the child is, and that is what we should stick to. Deliver to the purpose, don't deliver to the whole, to the whole massive topic that we know. And the last thing, of course, is as natural as possible over forced. There are certain things that all of us have our personal teaching styles. All of us have our own personal understanding styles. And what comes naturally to us is always going to appeal to the child a lot more than something that does not come very naturally to us. So natural over forced, another very good principle of instruction design. And, as you may well have figured out, all of these points are equally applicable to a lesson plan that we could teach in the classroom, B, a worksheet that we want to design for the children, C, the exam papers that we want to design, D, getting them to do a project or asking them to share something about something, right? To instruction design, it kind of, this whole thing refers to all kinds of exercises that we want children to do in a classroom. And what I'm going to do now is take about 2.5 minutes to share a video from this incredible expert called Dr. Anita Archer. She's going to talk about specifically what is explicit instruction, why is it needed, you know, once we understand why explicit instruction is needed, we can then go back to connecting with the principles of good instruction design that we saw, and then carry on from there. Himani, please help me, just show me a thumbs up and help me see if the sound is audible to everyone or not in the video.
Audible.
Thank you.
So I have the gift today of talking to you about explicit instruction. Explicit instruction simply is instruction that is quite direct, it is unambiguous, with the goal that the students would get it, would understand it, and would learn. We have a lot of confusion around the term explicit instruction, so let me sort of augment and add to that. One question I'm often asked is, wouldn't it be more motivating for students to learn it on their own, to discover it, to use authentic problems to discover it? And it's as if we have set up a total dichotomy between explicit instruction and discovery, but we really should view it as a continuum. And when we look at the research on instruction, we learn what are the attributes of that continuum. For example, if you are teaching children that are novices, that have just never learned this body of knowledge in the past, it appears that they do much better if we explicitly teach them the information, whether it's knowledge or skills or strategies, that we teach it. If they are learning a body of knowledge that they've not learned in the past, they're brand new to algebra, they are new to decoding of words, then they really benefit from very explicit instruction. So those two things, when the student is a novice, when the knowledge is new, explicit instruction would be desirable. But then after you've gained lots of information, you've gained lots of skills, then discovery is much more a viable option, but only after you've had explicit instruction. So one of the things that I also would be reminded of is the research. If you happen to be a special ed teacher, an interventionist, and you are working with struggling students, we definitely know that they are going to gain more with very explicit instruction than discovery. You know, if they had discovered it, they would not have been struggling. And so we need to have very explicit instruction for them. And what would that mean? Well, we could actually take explicit instruction and put it into two areas. One is the design of the instruction, and the other is the delivery of the instruction. And the design of the instruction means that we pick important content to teach them, we break it down into obtainable pieces, but then our lessons are organized so that more learning could occur.
I'm just going to, take a pause right here. I think, and I'm just going to delve a little bit into what ma'am said, which I find extremely interesting, which is the fact that explicit instruction is actually broken down into two pieces: the design and the delivery. The design means exactly what we want to teach, and the delivery is how we are teaching it in the classroom, right? Very, very simple. And this is what we are all working on when we prepare for our classes, right? We're working on designing the best lesson plans. We're working on designing the best kind of interactive learning modules. We're working on designing the most impactful way in which to teach something. And then is the delivery side of things, right? Where you've created something and then it's about actually doing it. So explicit instruction has two super core components: the design of something and the delivery of something. Now the design, which is what a lot of us also have to do for our work, which is essentially what is it that I'm going to teach, that has to stem from two very different yet very beautiful things. So the first thing is the purpose of what I am teaching. Be extremely sure about the purpose of what you want children to take away from that 40-minute session that you have. And the purpose is, long and short. Your long-term purpose is to teach them 15 things about this one concept in this one turn. Your short-term purpose is exactly broken down into 40-minute chunks. What exactly do I want a child to take away at the end of these 40 minutes? And the second is verbs. And this may be a little surprising to hear, but let me come to that right away. When we are designing something, right? The purpose of what we are designing and what we want children to do has to be very, very specific. And here our dear friend, Mr. Bloom, really comes in handy. We've all studied about Bloom. We've all studied Bloom's taxonomy. And if you want a child to just simply remember something that they are doing, simply remember something that you are teaching, the purpose is just remember. And if you want them to kind of move higher up in the pyramid and you want them to apply certain pieces of knowledge, you want them to evaluate something, you want them to create something new, the purpose is very, very different. And if you see on the right-hand side of the triangle, all the words that you see are essentially different kinds of verbs. All of us as English teachers, as language educators, we all know what a verb is. A verb is an action word, right? If I say, go and bring me a glass of water, the one instruction is, please go. The second instruction is, bring me a glass of water, right? It's specific. In the same way, for every learning objective that we want in the classroom, say, for example, we want children to apply a certain set of, apply a concept that we have taught. The best way to ask them to show a demonstration of that application is to use the verbs that you see on the right-hand side of the screen, because it really focuses the instruction and the children will actually understand exactly what you're asking them to do, right? Sometimes it does happen that when we are creating question papers for exams, the thing that we want to examine in our mind is different. What we write on the paper is slightly different. And what the child ends up understanding and answering to is also different. And to avoid all these kinds of simple slip-ups, being extremely, cognizant and extremely sure of the verb that we want to use, it makes a whole difference, right? It just changes the whole game. And Bloom has done a great job. I will also share this with Himani later. And Himani, you're welcome to share this with this community, share this presentation with the community, because it will make our, it will make our worksheets, our lesson plans, it will really just come alive, right?
Sure.
And what I'm going to show us now is a great example of a lesson plan that has been created on a very specific purpose. This is a lesson plan on language. As you know, I'm a language expert. And this has been created specifically to, to suit a 40-minute time span where children are expected to perform certain actions. You will notice that in the structure of the lesson plan, it is so clear for the person who has to deliver this plan. And the visual organization of what you are sharing is also very, very important, right? The topic is very clear right on top. So there is no misunderstanding on acha abhi karna kya hai, what do we have to do now? The learning outcomes are very simple. Children will learn first conditional and its uses. They will work together to create a story chain in the class. For any lesson plan, if you have more than 2 or 3 learning outcomes, take my word for it, you are not going to be able to achieve it in the classroom. All of us are working in classrooms which are 20, 30, 40, 50 children even, and 2 or 3 learning outcomes per class is the maximum that we can achieve. The skill that they're going to learn is very simple. It's a grammar and a speaking based class. The resources that the teachers have to use are organized and put on top. The resources that children have to use are also organized. The duration of the class is very, very specific. And the note for the teacher is also very specific, because the teacher knows that this is the point of the lesson and this is why I have to deliver this lesson. So the initial context setting is extremely on point. If you look at the principles of instruction design that we studied earlier, the focus is there. It is intuitive in terms of, you can exactly understand what's written. Even if you've never seen this lesson plan before, I'm sure all of you know exactly what it means and what you have to do. It is logical and it flows well. The lesson plan is now going a little bit deeper, and you will notice that everything that has to be done is divided into different steps and different subheadings, for the lack of a better word, right? So you're spending about 7 minutes in welcoming children, and you are, sharing the slide, and what you are doing is right here. Then after the welcome is an activity. And if you notice, there are two different shades of highlight, which are on the screen, right? One is a red one and one is a blue one. And this is a great visual technique for differentiating for the teacher. So if you look at the red, it's instruction for the teacher, right? This is what the teachers have to ask in the class. And if you look at the blue one, this is what the teachers have to do in the class, right? You have to give them a minute to think. This is what you have to ask. It's very, very well segregated, spaced out. And if you look at the verbs that are used at the beginning of every sentence, say, do, recap, give, ask, tell, share, click, so specific, so on point, absolutely no extra fluff, right? The language is super clear, and you know exactly what you have to do as soon as you read it. And then going actually into the meat of the lesson plan, again, you can see that you have to give 6 minutes to getting started, 10 minutes to building a certain vocabulary exercise, give them 5 minutes to predict something, ask them to listen to something, and then guide them to do something else. So if you look at everything and the way it is designed, it is so clear for the teacher to execute. It is so clear in terms of what resources and material have to be on hand. It is so clear for, it is so clear for a first-time teacher as well, right? Even with bare minimum training, the standardization of delivering plans which have been designed like this using the principles of instruction design is much higher. The learning outcomes achieved in the classroom in a 40-minute span are also much higher. So I'm just going to quickly go back to the principles of instruction design that we had spoken about, which is establish focus and expectation, use examples, don't explain so much. Remember, perfection is not the point. It's about communicating to the child and making sure that they realize what is the learning outcome or the takeaway of a certain session. Exercise restraint, right? We don't have to say everything about everything. We just have to break it down into digestible pieces. And that's exactly what we can also see in the design of this lesson plan. And the design of this lesson plan is again based on being clear about the purpose of what we are teaching and using very, very specific verbs of what we want the children to do. And going back to our best friend Bloom, Bloom has actually figured it out so well, right? That we have certain steps and processes of learning, and there are different verbs at every step that helps us see a demonstration of understanding from the children, right? Because at the end of the day, we want the purpose of every learning experience is that children should learn what I am teaching. It's as simple as that. So we've seen this lesson plan and a certain format that works. And I have this, this great, I have this example in front of us. Now, this is the worksheet. This is a simple, from the structure of it, you can tell that this is an English worksheet. It takes us a minute or two to figure out exactly what I have to do. I can see a bunch of images. I can see that the images are numbered. I can see that there are 8 images. Then I can see that there are 6 sentences. And what is my instruction? Match the vocabulary above to the pictures and then answer the questions below. Every answer must include something bad that happened that day. And then you have to read where did you go, and then figure out, pick one image, talk about where you went, and then talk about something bad that happened that day. If you look at the worksheet, and if a worksheet like this is presented to the child, I guarantee you the first step is confusion, because it takes some time for us to understand actually where is the instruction of what I have to do, and why do I have 6 sentences, and why do I have 8 images, and why do I have these words under the images that don't make sense that don't make a lot of sense, but what do I actually and exactly have to do? And if we as teachers are also trying to, the purpose of this worksheet is also not very clear, right? Because as a teacher, what am I actually assessing in a child? What am I actually asking them to do? So this is a great example of a worksheet that has 0 principles of good instruction design in it. And then compare it to this worksheet that you see on the right-hand side of the screen. There is a very specific topic right on top, says Tia's birthday lunch. The instruction under it is very simple, and the instruction is in active, it's an active language and not passive language. Complete the following passage with the correct verb forms in the simple past. The verbs are in the bracket. They're all numbered. There is enough spacing between lines. There are illustrations to help a child respond to these questions. And there's just a nicer feeling when it comes to doing a worksheet like this. For the teacher also, it's very clear that we are actually testing the child's knowledge of verb forms, and that's it, right? So when we are designing worksheets and we are designing learning experiences, I think it's very important to realize that, is it clear? Is the purpose clear? Am I using the right verbs for something? Am I making sure that I'm able to translate exactly what I want to ask and what I want the child to do? So, this is a great, the worksheet on the right is a good example of good instruction design in practice. And I was talking about the verbs, right? And especially for young learners, as we move on to the chain that Bloom has, he has given just so many verbs when it comes to actually helping teachers. So if we want a child to evaluate something, right, we could ask them to do things like judge or criticize or defend or compare. And if you look at the words that are above the blue line, there is a blue line. You have a set of verbs under the blue line, and above the blue line are the kinds that you can make the children do in order to create something, right? So say, for example, if you are looking at, you're teaching young children, your objective from a reading comprehension exercise is to help them remember something, then you have to ask them to either define or list or recall or identify. And the kinds of things that you could use to teach these things are lectures or examples or analogies or illustrations, right? In the same way, if you look at apply, the kind of projects or the kind of exercises that you can give children could be practice or demonstrations or sketching or projects, role play, teach back. And the verbs that you can use to create questions around applications are choose or dramatize, organize, prepare, produce, demonstrate, solve, use, etc. So this, this makes it so clear for us. It makes it very, very easy for us to teach exactly as per purpose. And I would recommend that if you, when you receive this presentation, I would recommend that if you have the ability, do print out this slide and put this in your classroom, put this in the staff room, so that it's a ready reckoner of the kinds of things that we can expect children to do based on the principles of good instruction design. A lot of us, we have been taking online classes, we have been using online resources. A lot of us also ask our children to create projects online, and in the same way, just using Bloom's taxonomy, there are certain digital things that we can also ask children to do. We can ask them to film or test or survey or create web links. This is just for you to take a different view on the different kinds of projects that children can do based on principles of good instruction design. And because we have seen a lesson plan on language, I am a language expert. I think one thing that I really want to talk about is the importance of good instructional design to build reading fluency and comprehension. Especially after the pandemic, our children's ability to read fluently, to comprehend text in English has really come down. I know that this is a problem that a lot of us are facing. And just like instruction design, right? The point of good instruction design is whatever I'm teaching in the class, the child should understand. In the same way, the purpose of reading fluency is also comprehension. Whatever the child is reading, they should be able to read text accurately, quickly, with expression. And the end goal of reading fluency is really, read with ease so that you can focus on understanding. And learning is not a spectator sport. Everyone has to do everything. And in order for everyone to be able to do everything, whenever we are teaching language related things in the classroom, these are the 4 principles that we have to be super mindful of. One is focus on the critical content to promote learning. If you think back on the lesson plan that I have showed earlier, we are looking at just what's important. We are not going into all details around complexities of first conditional voice, the 15 grammar things that you have to enter. We're just focusing on the critical content to promote learning in the classroom. We are breaking down complex strategies into obtainable chunks. You also heard Dr. Archer say the same thing. We are breaking down strategies into very achievable chunks, right? This for 5 minutes, this for 2 minutes, and the order is so intuitive and so logical that as a novice also, we would know, acha, I've already done this, now it's time to move on to this, because that makes perfect sense. Whenever we are teaching children, 3 kinds of feedback become very crucial to give. And one mistake that we often end up doing in the classroom is whenever we want to give certain kind of feedback to the children, we keep using words like, oh, very good, okay, good, great, excellent. It's really not saying anything specific. Like, I don't know what is good. I don't know what you think is excellent. So there are 3 kinds of feedback, right? One is an affirmative feedback, which the good, excellent can take care of. And the child knows that, yes, my teacher has heard me, has seen me, and I'm on the right track. The second kind of feedback is informational feedback. When, say, for example, you say something like, oh, wow, Aditi, you completed the Tia's birthday lunch worksheet, and I absolutely loved your handwriting. I think it's really neat and really tidy. So that's very specific informational feedback. It's telling me something about myself. It's not only saying your worksheet is good, but it's telling me that, oh, your spellings and your handwriting, they're also very good. And the third kind of feedback is corrective. And corrective feedback is what all of us do, right? When the child is doing something and you share what's accurate and what's not, that is corrective feedback. And when we are designing lesson plans, especially on the principles of instruction design, it is very important to make sure that the kinds of practice that you are reading about in point number 4 and the kinds of feedback, the space for both is integrated in your lesson plan. So whenever we are teaching something new, earlier also we saw that in instruction design, 2 things are super important. One is the actual design and the other is the delivery. So in terms of design, we have to make sure that 3 kinds of practice are integrated into the lesson plan. First is deliberate practice to ensure mastery. That means if you are teaching mathematics and addition is a concept that we are teaching in UKG or grade 1, there is continuous practice of addition, single digit addition, double digit addition that we keep giving children so that there is mastery. The second kind of practice is spaced practice to ensure retention. Spaced practice means when you're teaching a topic and you do it for 2 weeks and then you don't do anything about it until the exam, that is not the right way to go. When children are young and they are building skills, they're learning something for the first time, it's very important to practice those concepts that you have taught them in a scaffolded manner, week on week, and retrieval based practice, right, to ensure learning. So there are 3 kinds of practice and 3 kinds of feedback that we have to make sure that we integrate into our lesson plans when we are creating them. in order to, in order to make sure that the best kinds of learning outcomes are also something that we can achieve in our classroom. And the last thing that I want to share is the best kind of instruction design, the best kind of teaching and learning resources, the best kind of worksheets, everything, really great design thinking always starts from great empathy, right? And what is empathy really? We keep talking about empathy. We keep talking about, how it means to feel like the other person is feeling, but it's actually a little bit deeper than that. And if you look at the principles of instruction design, if you look back to it after we have gone through this video, you will also realize, oh yeah, correct. It's based on the principles of empathy. And I'm going to play a video, and that will help us realize what empathy really means. Audible?
So what is empathy, and why is it very different than sympathy? Empathy fuels connection. Sympathy drives disconnection. Empathy, it's very interesting. Teresa Wiseman is a nursing scholar who studied professions, very diverse professions where empathy is relevant, and came up with 4 qualities of empathy. Perspective taking, the ability to take the perspective of another person or recognize their perspective as their truth. Staying out of judgment, not easy when you enjoy it as much as most of us do. Recognizing emotion in other people and then communicating that. Empathy is feeling with people. And to me, I always think of empathy as this kind of sacred space when someone's kind of in a deep hole and they shout out from the bottom and they say, I'm stuck, it's dark, I'm overwhelmed. And then we look and we say, hey, you climb down. I know what it's like down here, and you're not alone. Sympathy is, ooh, it's bad, no, you want a sandwich? Empathy is a choice, and it's a vulnerable choice, because in order to connect with you, I have to connect with something in myself that knows that feeling. Rarely, if ever, does an empathic response begin with at least. Yeah. And we do it all the time. Because you know what? Someone just shared something with us that's incredibly painful, and we're trying to silver lining it. I don't think that's a verb, but I'm using it as one. We're trying to put the silver lining around it. So, I had a miscarriage. Oh, at least you know you can get pregnant. I think my marriage is falling apart. At least you have a marriage. John's getting kicked out of school. At least Sarah is an A student. But one of the things we do sometimes in the face of very difficult conversations is we try to make things better. If I share something with you that's very difficult, I'd rather you say, I don't even know what to say right now, I'm just so glad you told me. Because the truth is, rarely can a response make something better. What makes something better is connection.
And as teachers, as people who are designing learning experiences in the classroom, what children are essentially seeking from us day in and day out is connection. Is for them to feel like, oh, my teacher really understands me, and what they're making me do is really, really helping me. So to connect with something that's deep inside of us, to design for the child and not for our ease a little bit more, right? All of that is what instruction design is really based on. And if we go deeper, it's unending. There's this absolutely so much that we can do. And I know that today's webinar is in association with Freedom, and we have looked at 3 kinds of feedback. We have looked at 3 kinds of practice. And when we look at any tech tool that's at our disposal, technology is crucial for both practice and feedback. I know the Freedom, personally, I know that it's a prime example of good screen time. It limits what children can do online and yet gives them a world of opportunities. and it is also a very, very empathetically designed tool, right? So it follows all the principles of instruction design that we were talking about as well. So just to, just to sum it up, at the end, if I had to just, explain the last 42 minutes in one line, is how you want it to be taught. And that is exactly what the principles of instruction design say. Be simple, be clear, be logical, be very focused, and do it all with love. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Aditi ma'am. And it was very actually well designed session. And teachers, can I see some messages in the chat box where I would say that an instructional design session put just well designed. This was a perfectly designed example. I think this can be used as an example of how an instructional design should be done. From the chat box, I think it's running faster than I can read it along. And yes, and I think this is one of those sessions which was finished within the 50 minutes that we always think of. And we say, and yet we've covered everything. Lesson planning beautifully explained. Could you let me know the name that mentioned at the start of the empathy? Ma'am, we'll share the entire presentation like ma'am said, so you'll have all the videos. So don't worry about that. Yes, we will share. We'll share all of it. We'll share. Don't worry. I will make sure all of this reaches you, because like I said, this is one of the examples of how you should be designing your lessons.
There is one teacher, Imani, I think she has asked, she could not understand a certain point on a slide, but I don't know which slide they're mentioning.
If you could raise your hand, if you could raise your hand, anyone who has a doubt or a query, it will be easier for us. And at this point, I can unmute you. I could unmute you, anybody for that matter. If you have a question, just put up your hand. Yes. Yes, Nagadevi, could you please unmute? Yes, thank you.
Yeah, ma'am.
Yes.
Yeah, that was a lovely session. I just wanted to explain the fifth point in the first slide.
The fifth point in the first slide.
The principles of instructional design.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, let me just open that right away. The fifth point, exercise beautiful restraint.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, ma'am.
Okay, perfect. Ma'am, can you tell me what subject you teach?
English.
English. And which classes do you teach to?
Grade 8, 9, sometimes 7.
Grade 8 and 9. Okay. So say, for example, I believe you'll have to teach plays when we're in grade 8 or grade 9, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Now the play is, the purpose for when you're teaching a play is to help a child really understand the characters, help them understand what they're actually saying, help them step into the shoes of the character, and every child has to, understand what's happening. And the purpose of the purpose is very clear, right? I need the children to take this away when I'm teaching them a play. Now, because you're an experienced teacher, you would know 1,500 things about the play as well. Like you will know the writer's life story. You will know where the writer's house is. You will know, how the play impacted you when you studied it for the first time. Now, from all of this information, based on the purpose of the class, the only useful thing to share with the children is actually how the play impacted you, because you want to see how it impacts them. Giving information about the writers and the writer's life, taking time away from role play practice to do that is not restraint. Restraint means you just stay focused on the purpose and exactly plan by purpose. It is not to spend time doing things that are not actually necessary, that takes away from the learning outcome. The idea is that
yes, ma'am. I got your point. Too much of information is not essential at that time.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not serving your purpose. It's all about the purpose. If too much information is your purpose, give it. If it is not, don't do it. It's like that.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Nagadevi ma'am. Thank you. Arihan, somebody from Arihan Academy raised their hand. Could you please do it once again? So I'll pick up your question. Or anyone else, if you have a question, you can raise your hand. So we'll take up your question. Yes, ma'am.
my query was the same as what she asked. So my doubt was clear because I also teach the higher grades, 9th and 10th.
Okay.
And very often, of course, I do impart additional knowledge. Very often there are some children who want more than what I give them also.
Yeah.
So then it becomes a little difficult because there are some who do not wish to imbibe that extra knowledge.
Yeah.
So
And-
I was just looking into that, and she asked you the right question and you dealt with it. So thank you very much.
Yamini ma'am,
Pleasure.
is that you?
Yes, that's me.
See, I recognize your voice now.
The thing is, you know, we as teachers, our desire is always, oh, somebody asked, let's give. But this is one of the cases where constant giving does not do equal justice to all the children in the classroom. And we have to make spaces in our day, in our timetable where, you know, those who want more can get more. But in the classroom, the learning outcome is unfortunately common for everyone, right? That's the way our system is designed. And to meet that, we have to be thoda clinical about what we do and what we don't do.
Absolutely. And it's sometimes very, very difficult to be very clinical also.
Yeah, we are people at the end of the day, right? We also have to show empathy to ourselves.
Right. Thank you so much, ma'am, for a lovely session.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Anybody else has a question or a doubt or a feedback that you would like to share personally, please raise your hand. Meanwhile, I have a couple of points that I would like to take from the session. One was instructional design, how you should design your lesson like Aditi did. She, within 40 minutes, she gave you everything. And it was a very focused session on the learning outcomes that she had planned for all of you as teachers, right? And you'll agree with me that everybody was able to take away those points very effectively. So, you know, the short and crisp and well planned it is, the more effective it becomes. The more dragged out it is, the lesser effective it becomes. And you have to make that extra effort for engagement. But when it's short and crisp, the effort in engagement reduces because you know you'll have the children's attention for that span of time. Second, she did talk about reading fluency, which yes, is a very important thing. And I know all the educators who are from Commune here, we've been talking about the importance of reading and reading fluency in our sessions before also with Sudha ma'am, with Ms. Anuradha Murthy. We've talked about this topic, that reading is the most. Reading is what decides how well you will be able to speak, how well you'll be able to write, how well you'll be able to understand, how well you'll be able to express. Everything about a language, about any subject will depend on how well you're able to read and comprehend. Third point that ma'am talked about was having technology. Like she said, today, you know, let us understand one thing. Technology is a part of us. Yes, we cannot do away with it. I cannot say that I want my children not to use technology. Do I want to have children who go and ask someone, yeah, I don't know how to use WhatsApp. Can you help me with that? Do you want that? No, I want my kids to know more than me, right? If I can use 5 apps, I'm very happy that they can use 25. You know, it makes me feel that my kids are tech savvy. You know, they're very modern, they're very smart, they're very intellectual, all of that. We need today's generation to be technology friendly. When technology is already a part of it. Today, I'm talking about ChatGPT. I'm talking about AI integrations. I'm talking about, you know, so many forthcoming things in technology. There's no end to it. It's not stopping at any point. Why shouldn't I make sure that children are so well guided with technology that they understand that technology is not only games or videos, it is actually put to good use as well. Research is done. I can read well with it. I also use it for my step count. Google Fit helps me to make sure that I do 10,000 of step counts, right? So instead of only Netflixing, I have Kindle apps where I can do reading. There is Freedom app in the collaboration with whom we've done this session today. They have an app specifically for students, wherein they can actually monitor how much time they're spending on reading. We'll discuss about it in a later session. But there is technology, and as educators, it's important that we should guide the students on how to use technology effectively. We should integrate ICT integration, in the integration of computer technology, right? Information and computer technology, we've been doing it for so many years. All your books have those ICT activities and ICT tools. What do you do with these tools? we should give it to the students, and we should give them that within this limited time in the computer period or at home, you have to do this particular activity, so that they know that I can go on Google and do other things as well, instead of just going and watching a video, a cartoon or something. We've given it free hand. We've given them a free hand. Do whatever. मुझे परेशान मत करो. Take the phone and go away. Do whatever you want to. That is misuse of technology.
Technology use can also be governed by instruction design, right? If your purpose is clear, the tech is clear. It's as simple as that.
It's as simple as that. If you begin, once you begin doing it, trust me, the parents will automatically begin doing it. The households will automatically have it. My child goes to a school wherein every day he gets 30 minutes of technology-based work. Every day. So I know I have to give him that phone for that much time. I know what is the assignment that he's working on. I know if there's a reading assignment, I know he's using this app, he's reading it, I can monitor it. Most of your LMS does it. But as teachers, we have to make that constant effort, and it makes your work easier. Remember that. Remember this always. The technology always makes your work easier. Yeah, पिछले कुछ सालों में we had to call up mama to ask किसका recipe क्या है, and then try and test. Today I put my phone online and I try a new recipe.
Yeah.
I know exactly what she's doing.
Yeah, I mean, I think my favorite analogy for technology is expressways and kacha rasta. The kacha rasta will also take you there. It will take longer. It will, it will give you its own character, its own flavor. But if you have the expressway, then why not use it? And the fear will only go once you use it, right? So we have to be vulnerable. We have to use it, understand what it can do, and then measured usage for every purpose is exactly what it is.
And you get used to it. Every time, I'm sure none of us are still wearing those polka dots pants and shirts, right? We moved ahead with time. Today, I want to have the latest clothes or the latest footwear. Why? And I want to have the latest phone. All of you do, right? Why not be able to use it effectively? Isn't it? So let us be those trendsetters. And ELT educators, though all educators in general, but I have specifically ELT educators in more number here. So I'll say you are those trendsetters always. Always, whatever you guys do becomes a trend of your school, of the households of your students, everywhere. So let us begin with this. Let us design instruction at classroom. Let us add some technology flavor in it, and let us make sure that reading fluency is developed. We'll come back with some more such sessions. And yes, I am sharing the feedback form link in the chat box. I'll share it on the WhatsApp group on Monday, not on Saturday, Sunday. I will also enjoy these 1.5 days as my holiday. And I'll share them next on Monday in the group. Request for online workshops too. I agree, and I've been got to, yes,
Offline.
and we'll do a couple of offline workshops. Online is just easier to connect with a lot of people.
Yeah, correct. I get it. No, I get
Technology that offline, Yamini ma'am, only Mumbai will have it. See, online, today pan India and even Middle East teachers are here. So it's so much easier for all of us. More cost effective, travel effective. All right. So if anybody does not have, when will we receive the PPT?
Nagma will share it with you, Himani, and then you can share on Monday. If you wish, she'll share it with you today itself. Yeah.
Perfect. So sometime next week, I'll share it with all of you. Don't worry about it. And I've shared the feedback form. Please fill in the feedback form. You should automatically get your certificate. In case you don't get it, we'll take it up on Monday. Send me a personal message on Monday. And I'll take it up then. And I'll also help you, be able to help you better then. See, understand, after this session, even my team goes offline. Even they go away. So there's no way for me to help you out. So Monday, I'll come back. We'll share the PPT next week. We'll also share the recording of the session. We'll also take care of any queries that you have for your certificates. We'll also, if anybody has any other issues, I'll take them up. Not a problem at all. So right 5:01, and we are good to say goodbye to each other and enjoy a nice cup of coffee or tea with any kind of snacks. I'll enjoy a samosa. You can enjoy whatever.
Thank you so much for having me. Much appreciation. And thank you so much, teachers, for your wonderful response. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much, Nagma, for all the coordination and the support. I couldn't have done it without your support, and Team Freedom, of course.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye.